65% of ordinary people will harm others when asked, including you. What is more dangerous than crime itself? What turns brilliant minds into tools of destruction? The philosopher Bonhoeffer discovered what made Hitler succeed, and it's happening to us right now in our social media feeds and everyday decisions. In the next 15 minutes, you'll learn how to identify and resist this hidden power before it takes over your mind, just like millions are discovering through real psychological insights. I'm the Psyche Weave, where we explore ideas that could save your mind and help you grow stronger personally. Today, I'll share the most terrifying discovery about human nature, a hidden power that can turn anyone into a victim of their own thoughts. Based on 80 years of profound psychological research, from the shocking Milgram experiment, which proved human behavior under pressure, to modern AI algorithms that manipulate our daily decisions. This isn't abstract theory. This is the real battle happening in every one of our minds, affecting how you think, decide, and live. Picture this. It's 1943, deep in the heart of Nazi Germany, where the air is thick with oppression and the walls of a dim prison cell echo with the scribbles of a desperate pen. Here a pastor, not some distant philosopher, but a flesh-and-blood rebel named Dietrich Bonhoeffer, pours his soul onto scraps of paper, crafting words that would one day shatter our illusions about what truly threatens. He wasn't witnessing just the rise of tyrants or the machinery of war. No, he saw something insidious, a silent avalanche burying an entire society. German civilization didn't crumble under the weight of pure evil alone, those snarling demons with their twisted agendas. It fell victim to something far more terrifying, a force that creeps in like fog, clouding judgment and turning neighbors into strangers. And then, in a moment that still chills the spine, he etched his most haunting indictment. We are defenseless against stupidity. Reasons fall on deaf ears. Pause here, let that sink in, like a stone dropping into an endless well, giving you, the viewer, a breath to reflect. Have you ever felt that deafness in your own life? But Bonhoeffer's warning wasn't mere speculation. It was a prophecy waiting for proof. Fast forward 20 years to the sterile labs of Yale University, where psychologist Stanley Milgram orchestrated an experiment that would expose the raw underbelly of human obedience. Imagine ordinary folks. And here's where it gets truly unnerving. This isn't ancient history or a forgotten lab experiment gathering dust. Today, it's exploding on a global scale, ensnaring 5 billion souls in the digital arena of social media. False information doesn't just spread, it races like wildfire, 6 times faster than truth, as MIT research starkly reveals. We click with reckless abandon, share in a frenzy of emotion, and swallow beliefs whole without a single verification. Our feeds become battlegrounds of deception, where lies masquerade as wisdom. But pause and ask yourself, why are our brains, these marvels of evolution, so devastatingly easy to fool? Why do we choose the comfort of illusion over the harsh light of scrutiny? The answer lies in how modern systems are designed to exploit the very weaknesses of our brains, turning stupidity into the most dangerous weapon. Have you ever wondered why sensible, educated people like your friends, your family, maybe even yourself, sometimes seem to abandon critical thinking overnight? Why does your social feed, once a place for catching up, now feel like a battleground of slogans and echo chambers where logic goes to die? It isn't simply a deficit in knowledge or an unlucky day for your cognitive skills. The truth is more elusive and unsettling. The very architecture of modern life is a labyrinth built to trap and tax independent thought. Consider the sheer flood of data each of us faces every day. The average person is bombarded by the digital equivalent of over 34 gigabytes of information, consuming upwards of 100,000 words daily. Instead of making us wiser, this torrent overwhelms and exhausts our cognitive filters. It's no surprise that inattentional blindness and information obesity are becoming the chronic ailments of the smartphone age. In this state, lazier mental shortcuts seem inviting. Why dig deep, check sources, or hold contradictions in your mind when the next shiny headline or passionate tweet is just a swipe away? Fatigue sets in, and the survival instinct of mental comfort wins. Rational ignorance ceases to be a term from economics and becomes a daily reality, a self-preservation tactic for the overtaxed mind. But it isn't just overload. It's the way social structures push us toward conformity. Group belonging once meant protection against wolves. Now it can mean surrendering your doubts, often without realizing. Recall a recent debate online. Did you notice your urge rising after seeing 2 or 3 friends like a questionable claim to just agree or at least remain silent? This impulse, what Solomon Asch called conformity pressure, is hardwired into us, making it easier to retreat into the herd than to play the role of outlier. It's no accident that dissenting voices so often dwindle to whispers. Modern algorithms were designed to keep our eyeballs on screens, yet in doing so, have become masters of digital manipulation. Each click, every pause and share is meticulously analyzed in real time, so that tomorrow will bring even more of what you already believe. This technological architecture creates microclimates of reality, personalized versions of the world that rarely, if ever, collide with real difference. The effect grows subtle. You rarely see what you need, only what you want. And over time, the mind's defenses, curiosity, skepticism, self-questioning, atrophy. The greatest enemy of knowledge is not ignorance, it is the illusion of knowledge. Stephen Hawking. Beneath all of this lies a stubborn truth. Certainty is seductive. The comfort of having the right answer, accompanied by a cheer squad of likes and shares, is emotionally addictive. Doubt, by contrast, is lonely and uncomfortable. Why admit error publicly or even to yourself when certainty gets rewarded and ambiguity gets mocked? Experts call this the confidence heuristic, where boldness trumps accuracy and the loudest voice in the digital room shapes the narrative. Humans are story animals. Face us with a tangle of complex data and nuanced perspectives, and we grow restless. Yet, deliver a clear story with villains and heroes, no matter how incomplete or misleading, and we relax into mental autopilot. This is why conspiracy theories spread rapidly and complex truths languish unread. It's also why those who profit from your attention invest in crafting stories that reduce ambiguity, heighten certainty, and keep you scrolling for more. When the machinery of stupidity works as intended, it does more than distort public discourse. It shrinks the boundaries of your own identity. You become the sum of your slogans, more an echo of your environment than a self-determining person. Real growth, intellectual, emotional, spiritual, requires friction, contradiction, challenge. The moment you trade radical doubt for comfortable certitude, is the moment your development stalls. If you have ever tried to swim against the current on social media or in a family debate on politics, science, or values, you know the price: confusion, pushback, sometimes outright hostility. Bonhoeffer called the lonely courage of independent thinking costly grace. In a society that has normalized intellectual shortcuts, standing firm is sometimes nothing short of heroic. On a systemic level, the tragedy is complete. Those most willing to abandon critical thinking often gain the greatest career and social rewards in the short term. Outrageous soundbites get amplified by news outlets desperate for clicks. Social media influencers flourish by catering to the tribe, not enlightening the crowd. Meanwhile, institutions that should uphold nuanced debate, universities, media, politics, find themselves pressured to simplify, polarize, or pander. True intellectual honesty, it turns out, is not only rare but taxed at every turn. Research in behavioral psychology reveals that mental scarcity, caused by economic anxiety, chronic busyness, or existential dread, reduces the cognitive bandwidth available for careful thought. When you're constantly worried about paying bills, health, or social status, your mind defaults to easy answers and binary thinking. This is why intellectual surrender becomes epidemic during crises, from wartime to pandemics. As the system multiplies stress, stupidity becomes the antivirus for the anxious mind. How do you break the spell? It begins by resensitizing your mind to questions, the what if, and how do I know? After months or years of curated certainty, the habit of self-doubt will feel awkward, even scary. But every question you ask, every moment you hold contradictory ideas without rushing to resolve them, is a small act of defiance against the machinery of manipulation. Try this, pick one headline you're sure about, and Google for serious arguments against it. Not to abandon your position, but to test its strength through combat, not comfort. You won't get far alone. The antidote for tribal epistemology is a community of fellow questioners, people who prize honest doubt over knee-jerk allegiance. Seek out the friends who challenge you, not just those who comfort you. Platforms where rank curiosity is not punished, but rewarded. The test of a first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold two opposed ideas in mind at the same time and still retain the ability to function. F. Scott Fitzgerald. Just as physical strength is built by resistance, not by ease, so too is intellectual stamina developed by daily exercises in critical thinking. Block time each week for intellectual friction. Read an article or watch a video designed to unsettle your convictions. Practice sharing content only after a cool-down period where you double-check its origin and context. And above all, get comfortable saying, "I don't know," and watch how that one phrase reopens the doors of learning. Silent surrender to authority is not just a private tragedy but a systemic one. When entire populations cede their judgment to charlatans, demagogues, or algorithms, democracy withers, not with a bang, but a slow, unnoticed collapse. This is why Bonhoeffer's question, "Who will stand firm when everyone around stops thinking?" is not merely moral, but profoundly political. A society of independent minds can sustain freedom. A society of intellectual lemmings never can. Every act of thoughtful questioning, every refusal to let stupidity claim another mind, is a thread in the tapestry of our shared future. As algorithms grow ever more cunning and pressures to conform ever more subtle, the simple act of curiosity becomes radical. Slow thinking, a quiet revolution. You are not powerless. Each moment of doubt, each courageous "I was wrong," is an act of resistance that ripples beyond yourself, shaping your community, your nation, your world. This week, go beyond passive consumption. Choose a belief you hold dearly and invest honest energy into understanding the best arguments against it. Share what you discover with your community, whether that's a comment beneath this video, a coffee conversation, or a private journal. Invite others to do the same. If you persist, you'll feel discomfort, defensiveness, maybe even pain, but lean into it. That's the signal of growth, proof you're doing the hard work most people avoid. In a world that profits from easy answers and intellectual surrender, your willingness to doubt, wrestle, and think deeply is a gift not only to yourself, but to us all. Let's make doubt a virtue once again. Let's build a culture that honors questions, celebrates self-correction, and knows that the price of progress has always been the courage to think for ourselves. Now let's delve deeper into the heart of darkness that Bonhoeffer illuminated, a distinction so profound it redefines our greatest fears. Evil, he realized, is like a venomous snake coiled in plain sight. It always harbors the seed of its own undoing, sowing seeds of unease, rebellion, and inevitable collapse. It gnaws at the conscience, whispers doubts, and eventually crumbles under its own weight. But stupidity. The voltage climbs, screams pierce the air, agony echoes through the walls, and the result? A staggering 65%. Shocking, isn't it? 65% of participants pushed forward, willing to inflict serious harm, even believing it could kill, all because someone in power said so. These weren't monsters lurking in the shadows. No, they were people just like you and me, caught in the web of blind obedience, surrendering their independent thought without a fight. What does that say about us? Could you be next? Short pause for tension. Consider the chilling examples that bring this home. A brilliant scientist, armed with degrees and data, suddenly shares dangerous misinformation that endangers lives, not out of malice, but sheer unthinking conviction. Or a compassionate teacher meant to nurture young minds, endorsing harmful ideologies that poison the well of knowledge. That's a different beast entirely, a wolf in sheep's clothing, convinced of its own righteousness, parading as virtue while leading us blindly off the cliff. It doesn't doubt, it doesn't waver. It believes with fervent conviction that it's doing good, rendering it utterly immune to correction. Pause here, let that irony sink in, like a mirror reflecting your own unexamined certainties. Have you ever clung to a belief, certain it was right, only to later see its flaws? Leon Festinger's groundbreaking research on cognitive dissonance reveals the brain's fierce rebellion. When confronted with facts that clash with cherished beliefs, it doesn't yield, it fights back, erecting walls to shield the familiar, no matter how flawed. And oh, how the modern world amplifies this. Stress from endless deadlines, societal pressures, and digital overload crank the volume to deafening levels, making us more susceptible to stupidity than ever, a ticking bomb in our neural wiring. These aren't cases of low IQ or educational voids. No, this is functional stupidity. At the core of this vulnerability lies the very architecture of our brains, forged in the fires of evolution to favor lightning-fast decisions over painstaking accuracy, a survival hack that helped our ancestors dodge predators in savage wilds. But in today's labyrinth of information, this gift They craft echo chambers, invisible bubbles where only confirming voices echo back, drowning out dissent and making independent thinking feel like an exhausting uphill battle, costly in time and emotional toll. But this isn't accidental, it's engineered. Our economic systems are masterfully designed to reward these intellectual shortcuts, turning laziness of thought into profit. Social media rake in billions not from careful analysis, but from raw emotional reactions, the quick like, the furious share. News outlets don't survive on nuanced truth. They thrive on outrage, fanning flames of division for clicks and views. The grim outcome. Rational ignorance, where not knowing becomes the smarter, more efficient choice than digging for understanding in our frantic pressure cooker lives. It's a trap disguised as convenience, lulling us into complacency. The COVID-19 pandemic laid this bare in stark, unforgiving light. Even the experts, doctors with decades of training, engineers of precision, lawyers of logic, succumbed to functional stupidity's snare. Under unprecedented pressure, they shared debunked theories on vaccines and treatments, not from ignorance of facts, but an infection of unchecked bias when systems thrust us into chaos. It wasn't a collapse of intellect. It was stupidity's silent spread, proving no one is immune. So, how do we break free from this vicious cycle? Build to cliffhanger, voice rising with urgency. Bonhoeffer called escaping stupidity costly grace, the willingness to think independently, even if it's painful, unpopular, or dangerous. He posed the challenging question, who will stand firm when everyone around stops thinking? This is a call to confront the shadow in our own minds, much like in Jungian psychology, for true self-discovery and personal growth. So you've seen the shadow that stupidity casts over our minds, a creeping fog that can blind even the sharpest among us. But here's the beacon of hope. You can fight back, reclaim your clarity, and forge a path to true understanding. Let's apply Bonhoeffer's wisdom in practice with 4 simple, yet profoundly transformative steps to combat functional stupidity, a battle plan for your mind in a world rigged against independent thought. Step 1. Create intellectual friction, a deliberate spark to ignite growth. Each week, seek out one argument from someone you fiercely disagree with, not to surrender your stance, but to test the steel of your beliefs, sharpening them against the grindstone of opposition. Step 2. Embrace what I call productive ignorance, a courageous act of humility. Regularly ask yourself this piercing question, what evidence would change my mind? If no answer emerges from the depths of your reasoning, beware, that silence is a glaring red flag waving over a fragile conviction. Step 3. Slow down in the frantic rush of digital life. Before sharing that post or opinion, pause for just 60 seconds to verify it from an independent source, shattering the emotional chains of algorithms that thrive on your impulsiveness. And step 4, perhaps the boldest of all, practice saying, I don't know, when you truly don't. In a world that exalts fake confidence like a false idol, admitting your gaps isn't weakness. It's the most radical, revolutionary act of strength. Pause briefly, let that defiance resonate, a quiet rebellion against the noise of certainty. Now weave these steps into the fabric of your daily life. Start by pinpointing one belief you hold as certain, a sacred cow in your mental landscape, and dare to challenge it, much like exploring the hidden shadow within for personal development. Seek out a network of fearless souls, people unafraid to ask the tough, uncomfortable questions, building a supportive community where critical thinking isn't just encouraged, but celebrated as a collective shield. And here's the mindset to adopt. Treat critical thinking like physical exercise. Yes, it stings at first, like muscles protesting a new workout, but over time, it builds unyielding mental strength, armoring you to resist the relentless pressures of systemic manipulation with unshakable resolve. But understand this journey isn't just about you. It's about the very future of human intelligence, a fragile flame flickering in the winds of ignorance. Each person who chooses this path becomes a guardian, helping to protect civilization itself from the collapse that stupidity threatens to unleash. Every single time you opt for curiosity over the seductive comfort of certainty, you're not just safeguarding your own mind, you're fortifying the bedrock of society. Bonhoeffer gave his life to defend the sacred right to independent thought, facing the gallows with a courage that echoes through history. So now I ask you, in the quiet of this moment, as the weight of his sacrifice lingers, what will you do to carry on that legacy? Pause with rising tone, let the question hang, a challenge burning in the air, urging action. This week, I challenge you to step into the arena where Bonhoeffer once stood, not as a distant hero, but as a mirror to your own courage in the fight against stupidity. Pick your strongest belief, that unshakable pillar in the temple of your mind, perhaps a conviction about politics that fuels your debates, a religious tenet that anchors your soul, or a life philosophy that guides your every step, and dedicate exactly 30 minutes to hunting down the best counterarguments from reliable sources. This isn't about crumbling under doubt or flipping your worldview in an instant. No, it's about forging intellectual courage, like delving into the shadow of your psyche in Jungian exploration, that hidden realm where unexamined flaws lurk. Here, the problem, a potentially flawed belief, encounters the trigger, a piercing counterargument, igniting the solution, a resilient inner strength that emerges wiser, unbreakable. Pause, let the weight of that self-confrontation settle, a quiet storm brewing in the viewer's mind. What belief have you held too tightly, afraid to test? Now make it real, share right in the comments. What's one belief you're ready to challenge this week? Join the thousands already practicing intellectual resistance on the Psyche Weave channel, where we weave together journeys of self-exploration, turning solitary reflections into a tapestry of shared growth. For true accountability, tag 2 trusted friends, those allies in your circle who value honesty over comfort, and invite them to join the challenge, transforming your personal odyssey into a powerful community force that amplifies courage and fosters collective awakening. Remember that haunting 65% figure from the video's dawn, the chilling statistic revealing how ordinary people, caught in the web of unthinking obedience, could unwittingly cause harm without a flicker of realization. It loomed like a shadow over us, a stark reminder of our shared vulnerability in a world that preys on blind conformity. But now, after this illuminating journey through the depths of human folly and resilience, you've transcended that statistic. You're no longer ensnared in that silent majority. You've emerged equipped with powerful tools to resist the insidious force of stupidity. What was once unease, that gnawing doubt in the quiet corners of your mind, has been alchemized into real inner strength, a fortress of true personal growth where self-doubt becomes the spark for enlightenment. Pause here, let the transformation resonate, like a house of the mind finally fortified against storms, inviting you to reflect. How has this changed your own shadows? In a world that greedily profits from our intellectual surrender, where systems whisper temptations of easy certainty and quick comforts, careful thinking emerges as the true revolution, a defiant uprising of the spirit. It's a legacy etched in Bonhoeffer's unyielding courage, one we can carry forward not as distant history, but as living fire in our daily decisions, illuminating paths of independence and self-discovery. Thank you for joining this exploration, for daring to confront the shadows within. Now, apply these insights, transform yourself, one thoughtful choice at a time, and watch as your world expands beyond the confines of unexamined life.